morning to seeing a bunch of pictures with people with snow, and that was kind of fun. So wonderful to have you here joining me on this cold winter morning. And today we're looking at is sort of one of the more interesting twists, I think, in religious faith. And it's an interesting one because I remember the first time I heard somebody talk about the efficiency trap, about how the life of faith is not actually supposed to be efficient, or I'm using the word relevant here in quotes. It's not necessarily supposed to always be those things. I mean, and that doesn't mean that we're supposed to build churches around inefficiency. Clearly, we're not. We're supposed to be good stewards, but there is something about faith, and hopefully, this little conversation we're about to have will maybe share some ideas around like the beautiful inefficiency of faith, and how that can look. So what I want to do, folks, is we're setting the stage. We're hopping back into John here, the Gospel of John, and this is the part he has raised his friend Lazarus from death, a Lazarus moment. Sometimes you'll hear that in popular culture. Lazarus gets raised from the death. Jesus has them take off his burial clothing. We looked at that yesterday. And then of course, our friends, the clergy, show up, the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And they're not terribly enamored with this. And not a surprise given the plot of this story. And it's a fascinating line that we're looking looking at today, because this is so American. This is so incredibly American. All right, here we are. This is John 11, verse 45. Therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did, raising Lazarus from death, put their faith in him. In other words, they trusted him. But some of them went to the Pharisees, the clergy at the time, and told them what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin were sort of like the governing council. What are we accomplishing, they asked. Here's this man performing many miraculous signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and then the Romans will come and take away both our place and our nation. And it's I mean, there's so many little subtle parts to that, folks. And I love that line. What are we accomplishing, they asked. And it's interesting, right? Like here's this really good, beautiful thing that's happened, right? A beautiful thing, like Jesus raising people from the dead. And here we can look at that. I think we can look at that very poetically as well. That idea that God comes into our heart becomes anew, we find a new form of life, life opens up in very exciting, fascinating ways. And that's this beautiful thing. But they couldn't find their way to celebrate it. Like, just think about that, right? Like, they couldn't find their way to celebrate it. And you can definitely see that sometime in religious circles where people have found God, and yet there's this refusal almost to celebrate that, because oftentimes it's not going according to our agenda. People find God in all kinds of places, in all kinds of ways. And it's very easy to think like, no, they have to find it our way. Then this great question, on top of it, they couldn't celebrate. And what they did is they had to ask them this question. Well, what are we accomplishing here? Like, what are we really trying to do? What's the point? Instead of just sitting in celebration. That's the efficiency trap right there. That idea that we always need to be doing. We always need to be figuring it out. We always need to somehow have a plan, and we're moving forward. Now, our plan's bad? Absolutely not. I know, as a pastor at New Church Live, we do strategic planning all the time. Matter of fact, I have another meeting on that this afternoon, and that's really healthy. And yet, it also has to be couched in this deep knowledge that most of faith comes down to things that are not terribly efficient, that are not productive in a certain sense. I mentioned, a number of I oftentimes are doing these calls from out at our tiny, and it is a tiny home, if there ever was one, our little tiny home, tiny cabin out in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. And our grandson was over a couple nights ago, And he's at that age where he's like, I want to play with that toy. I want to play with that toy. I've got toys, I've sort of have put a lot of toys up on shelves here because that's what I want. I want like our grandkids to come over and to see how exciting that is. So I'm down on the floor. I'm playing Tonkas with them, and because I loved playing Tonkas, and some of them were my old Tonka trucks. And it's just interesting, like even feeling that now, even that, it's hard to stay in the moment because my efficiency mind wonders, what am I accomplishing here? What am I doing? How do I, and I could be on this, I could be doing that, da 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 da. And that's the efficiency trap here. And that's where instead of and this is obviously very different level. Obviously, we're talking a far later level than this story here. It's inability to celebrate this beautiful thing here, and instead constantly letting our mind just get sort of waylaid by trying to be efficient. Now, the point of that, the thing, to think about taking forward out of our life is to remember this, and this is really important. Is when you talk about church and you talk about spiritual community, however that might look for you, that those communities, those churches, they're not built by efficiency. They're built from hope. I want to say that again. They're not built by efficiency. They're built by hope. That's why we have to sort of hold the whole efficiency model lightly. Take what it has to tell us, think about, yeah, what can we accomplish, et cetera, et cetera. But to know that God is doing great things. God is over in this place, and people are finding God in their hearts. It's been part of human whatever, humanity forever. And we have to witness to that and celebrate it and celebrate it and not get caught back into an efficiency trap. We'll look at a little bit more of that tomorrow because actually it has some pretty dire consequences here. In terms of the Pharisees, etc. But we'll look at that tomorrow. So for today, just be aware of a place in your life. You ready for this? Where you can be completely inefficient today. Where's that place? What does it look like? What's the interaction in that place? And just simply be in that place, at least for a little bit today, in the midst of all our frenetic efficiencies. So that's my thought for today, folks. I hope that makes sense, and great to have you joining us today. What we're going to do now is I'm going to ring a bell, allow that to still our minds. After we allow it to still our minds, we'll do a little prayer, a little blessing, and then I'll say hi to folks on Facebook. So with that, friends, we're going to get a big breath here. And let's listen to the bell. And a little meditation. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and bring you peace and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends. So if you want to leave a comment on New Church Live's Facebook page, you may do that. And it takes a couple seconds here to load up. Also, should let you folks know that we're working on doing for this next series of Fresh Start. We will be having some small group opportunities coming up in short order. I'm surprised this thing is taking a while to load here. We'll be having some small group opportunities coming up. Those will be a lot of fun. I am not having any. There we go. Those will be a lot of fun. It really is a great time, a great chance to get to connect with other people. And we'll be looking at what do those different fresh starts look like for people in their lives. All right. So let's say good morning to people here. Linda, good morning to you. And Molly, so good to hear you joining us from good old Ireland. That is way fun. And like silly, right? That I'm here in Lebanon, you and your wonderful hubby are over there in Ireland, and we're having a little conversation. How fun is that? Patricia, great to see your heart this morning. Kim, yes, good morning to everyone. Rita writes, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Totally agree with that, Rita. Very good year for everyone. Marcus, good morning to you, my friend. Gene, good snowy morning from Maryland's Eastern Shore. It was really something seeing those pictures, and we're actually in a little bit of a colder climb over here, but we've gotten no snow. Linda writes, so many plots. Felt so threatened. Fear is not the language of the heart. The mind will trap us. It's so true. And it's interesting the way, that's a whole sermon there, Linda. The way that fear gets us just into all these different plots, and we love them. A phrase I love a lot out of the new church is the idea of the pleasures of insanity, because that's what these plots are. They're somehow weirdly pleasurable and a little crazy. Yep. Oh man, Susan, you are spot on. What are we accomplishing doing versus being? That's really good. It's really good. That's really good. I should have said that. That's really good. Patty, inefficiency, laying in bed sick, daydreaming in my head. Yes, Patty. And I will say, Patty, my dear friend, we get to celebrate that Big Ben went out with a win last night, right, my friend? Let's see who else. Feel better. Daydreaming is good. Oh, there you go, Patty. Patty threw it in there. Go Steelers. I hope. Let us hope as well. So, folks, just thinking about that today, and just like park aside for a little bit. Just this idea of efficiency, and even the idea of quote unquote relevance. I mean, of course, religion and faith has huge relevance. I think it's the most relevant thing out there, but it's not relevant in certain arenas, right? In a lot of arenas, it just seems incredibly irrelevant. Well, it's supposed to be irrelevant in those arenas because we're supposed to shift over into those arenas where it's deeply relevant and where actually it can be life changing. So that's my thought for today, folks. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great day, snowy or not. And whether you're joining us live or archived throughout the week, great to have you as part of our little morning get together. Take care. God bless. Bye bye.